It's finally here, Good Friday. All right, something you should know about me is that I work with middle schoolers. Prayers appreciated. And the cool thing about kids is that they're not afraid to ask questions that sometimes adults are afraid to ask. And one I've gotten recently is, why did Jesus have to die for our sins? A fantastic question. Now, middle schoolers are also notorious for having short attention spans, so here in a nutshell is my stab at that answer. To answer this question, we have to go all the way back to somewhat of the beginning. In the Garden of Eden, obviously. Now, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve got to walk in a perfect relationship with God, physically walk with him, which is dope. God was perfect, they were perfect, without sin. Now, you probably remember an incident with a snake that kind of shook things up in that respect. Sin entered the world and broke that perfect relationship. Because God is perfect, he cannot coexist with imperfection. And he had already stated that the consequence for sin was death. So obviously a solution had to be created to bring man back into a perfect relationship with God. Because of this, the first animal sacrifice was made to take man's place and restore him back to a right relationship with God. Now, this was the plan that continued for centuries, and it was a good plan, but not a permanent one. But because God already knew this was going to happen and chose to create us anyway, he had a plan in the works long before any of this happened that was bigger and better than anything we could ever imagine. His plan would allow us to not only restore the relationship that we had before, but to have an even better one, an even closer one than we could ever hope for, permanently. But in order for this to happen, it would take a perfect sacrifice, not only one that could die and take our place, but one that could also defeat death. This sacrifice would not only endure death, but also the sins of all people, past, present, and future. This would allow man to be in a constant relationship with God, and then God himself could dwell with man again. To accomplish all of this, the sacrifice had to be perfect in every way. It had to be God himself. And this is where Jesus comes in. He made the choice as God's only son to be the sacrifice that would end all sacrifices. He took on all our sin, all the sins of the people that came before us, and all the sins of the people that will come after us. And after he died that excruciating death on the cross, they laid him in a tomb for 3 days. And because Jesus is more perfect and more powerful than we could ever imagine, on the third day, he defeated death and lived. So why did Jesus have to die for our sins? He didn't, but he did because he loves you and wants a perfect relationship with you. And that's why today we celebrate Good Friday.
So the song I chose for Good Friday is Because of Your Love by Quilala. This song does such an awesome job of describing how even though we were unlovable, Jesus still loved us enough to willingly give up his own life. I mean, Jesus endured the most terrible death on the cross, all out of love. And now we can have free life and stand with him forever. So anyway, the song is perfect, the lyrics are perfect, Quilala's perfect. Yeah, so check it out.